All right, back to the stock market. Today we're going to implement shorting. And I'm just going to load up my, if I can type, money market script. See where we left off. All right, so where we're going to have to change stuff is in here. And we're going to have to create some new functionality to allow shorting of stocks, because 4 sigma ticks only has buying of stocks. Now the problem with JavaScript, and this is a serious problem that if you're considering what language to write code in, might dissuade you in some situations from writing it in JavaScript altogether, because this is only true of JavaScript and not true of most other object-oriented languages. JavaScript does not allow multiple inheritance. So what you would normally do if you were trying to add kind of diverse functionality is you would create another class that extends from if.stock. And in that class, you would add functions like sell or short and cover a short and so on and so forth. However, because of the way, and this is the perfect example for why JavaScript made some poor decisions about multiple inheritance. Since JavaScript doesn't allow that, we have to choose a specific parent for our new class, and we don't want to choose a specific parent because specifically we've already said you might be able to short without having tix4s. You might need tix4s. So short can't inherit from tix4s, and it can't inherit from just your basic stock, because if it inherits from your basic stock, you won't have tix4s. And if it inherits from tix4s, well, what if you don't have tix4s? And so on and so forth. So it's a problem I have with JavaScript, but there is a workaround, and it's kind of a stupid one, but it works. Now, the reason why we have extended stock into tix4s stock and not done it the other way, or not done it the way I'm about to show you, is because it's impossible. Oh, okay. It's impossible to have tix4s without having tix and without having WC. Likewise, it'll be impossible to have WC4s without having WC. So this can import with WC as a parent, and this can have tix as a parent. But short may have any combination of them. So for short and limit, we're going to do a slightly different formulation. And we're going to use what's called an extender. Part of the, if you ever hear the word factory or class factory or object factory, oh my God, what's going on here? What is going on here? I literally wasn't touching anything. Why is my shit crashing? Anyway, all right, I'm done. Close Firefox. Close, close, close. Try it from scratch. All right, let me fix the problem with Firefox crashing every 3 seconds, and then we'll be back and talk more about the extender pattern. All right, I've been convinced to move over into VS Code to finish this out. So as I was saying, we're going to create an extender function. We're going to call it if stock extender short. Actually, I'm going to call it if.stock.short. And the way you create an extender function is to... Oh, I'm in VS Code now. I get my snippets. That's nice. That's an upgrade. Stock extender. Params of ns and stock object. And we're going to return stock object. But while the stock object is in this function, it's going to get some changes made to it. Specifically, it's going to get a new method added to it. And when you're dealing with shorts, let's see what functions we're going to have access to. Well, I guess it's obvious. It's the same as we've got in the ticks, except in reverse. You've got go short, max short, short cost, and unshort. So go short, max short, short cost, and unshort. So how we implement these is with a period. Now we can pass any function, any stock object through this function, no matter what class it's been instantiated through. Specifically, it could be a tick stock, it could be a 4S tick stock, it could be a regular base stock, it could be any version of the stock object. But once it comes through this, it'll get additional functionality added to it. Specifically, the ability to short it. And we know unshort is a function with parameter shares. And max short doesn't have any parameters, and go short has the shares parameter. And I'm going to double window this so that we can keep an eye over here of what's going on. So go short, copy and paste, boom. Except we're going to sell. Max short's exactly the same as max long, except, oops, that's going to go short, and we care about the bear price. And we care about the bear position. Right? Exactly the same. And last but not least, unshort. It's called sell short. And so all that's happening is, well, there's one more thing that I'll have to change. We're passing a stock object into this function, adding the functionality to it, and then returning the same object with the new functionality. Of course, I'm not going to have access to this .ticker or this .ns. So anywhere you see this .ns, and I'll just Control H, find and replace, it's just going to become ns. And then this .ticker will have to become stock object .ticker. Likewise, all the thises. Probably just do it like that. Because anywhere you see a this refers to stock extender and not stock object. Since we're only working on one object, that right there will work just fine. Okay, so we're not going to be able to test this. You're just going to have to trust me when I tell you that it's going to work. I will show you how to use it though. Say we had a, how about right here? So if permissions and ACL short, then let's refactor this a little bit. We'll actually build our stock list a little bit higher before we get into the loop. So let stocks is be an array, and then for stock of stock list, push a 4 sigma tick stock. Now this should probably be push a stock and do something else with it later. For right now, we're only concerned about 4 sigma ticks. We're going to push 4 sigma ticks, and then if we have ACL short permissions, we're going to iterate through stocks, and then need to import what did I call that? if.stock.short. Beautiful. So where were we? If we have ACL short, we're going to iterate through the stock list, and for every stock, we're going to pass in this. We're going to pass the stock object to the stock extender, return the stock object. And I think that's good enough. I'm not sure. In some languages, you actually have to create a new array and be like, but I'm not sure if you have to do that in JavaScript. I think in JavaScript, the objects are, the word's not mutable, but they're like pointers too. I could be wrong about this. So if you have shorts, I don't have shorts, but if you do, that's what you need to change. You need to actually just recreate this array and put new values in it, new objects in it with the extended functionality. But if I'm right, and I think I am, this will work. And this will automatically update the value inside stocks. We can do the same thing for limit. So for instance, we could change this to stock extender short. Here we could do stock extender limit. Come up to the top. Import a stock extender limit function. Head over to shorts. Do the same thing. And what are our limit functions? What are our limit functions? Okay, we'll have an orders. Then we'll have a cancel all orders. Something or other. We'll have the ability to create, I'm just going to do some helper functions here. Stop loss. So we'll be able to hold on. All right, so your primary functions are these three, and these two are just going to be helpers for common orders that you might want to place, like a stop loss and a limit exit. All right, so ns dot. I'm really bummed that I don't have my ns function imported here. Oh, yeah. I also don't have index DTS. So if you're using VS Code and you want NS highlighting, you just have to copy the netscript functions.dts out of the source code. It's available on the GitHub. Looks like this guy. Just copy it verbatim, put it in index.ts, and import it as such. And then we should have, yep, we see here parameter is type NS. That's what we want to see. Now hopefully if I type NS dot, yeah, I get all my NS functions. Okay, cool. That'll make things a lot easier for me. Right, so orders. Oh, god dang. Another way to do this, at the very, very tip top. So this structure here is a type def for just this function. But at top, you can do type def that, and you don't actually need this, and it should still work. But I could be wrong. In fact, I think I am. Let me not invent the wheel here. We'll just do it like that. We know that works. Let's put it on top of every function. Did not intend to switch to VS Code in the middle of this video. All right, dot get orders. There we go. Returns your order book for the stock market. For each symbol you have a position in, the returned object will have a key with that symbol's name. Okay, so since we only care about the orders for stock object, we can just call it like that, because this will access the key with the symbol's name. And I think we can just return that straight out. Cancel all orders. What are we going to do with that? Let me find the cancel order. Okay, gets 4 variables. Okay. So first one will be the symbol, which is stock object. Ticker, shares. Good question. What's the shares? Since this is a cancel. I guess we want it to be, we want to do this slightly different. We want to call orders first before we try to cancel orders. We need to know how many shares are in the order because of the requirements of cancel order. So we could call stock object.orders for each. And for each order, cancel the order with stock object ticker, o.shares, o.price, o.type, and yeah, o.position. These are already part of that order's object when it returns it. It's a stock order object. And if you click, VS Code's nice, you click on stock object order, it'll just take you straight to it and tell you shares, price, type, and position are what it gives you. And then shares price, type, and position. Cool. And the only thing we have to add to that is the ticker, which we already know because it's this object's ticker. I'll return that. Okay, and then order. That'll be place order. Gotta send in the ticker, gonna have to send in shares price, and I want this function to be very generic, so I'm just gonna send in variables here. Send in shares price, type, and position, and we'll pass those into the function. So if we don't have, like, we're about to code these two utility functions, but if for some reason neither one of these works for what we want to do, we'll just call order directly and pass in what we want to do. But stop loss. We're going to define a stop loss as an order placed at 0.9% of initial buy price, or actually not the initial buy price, the current price, because we'll want to update our stop loss if the price goes up. Basically, we never want to lose more than 10% of our money. An order placed at 0.9%, 90%. Current buy price that sells the stock upon the price dip. And we'll define limit exit. An order placed at 110% of current price of purchase price that that exits the position on the price rising. I don't know, I'm not a stock investor. I just Googled like what was going on in the stock market and what traders used, and they use stop losses and limit exits. Those are just things they do, and they do them like this. I don't know why. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. Somebody who cares can tell me. Works for me. And so we are placing an order. We've already got an order functionality, so we can call stockObject.order. Shares. How many shares do we place the order for? Well, we have stockObject.orders. Well, actually, this needs to be a getter function. How do I do that? I completely forget. I think I have to wrap it like so. Is that gonna work? Be like that? No. I think that's gonna work. It's not giving me a syntax error. Sometimes I forget my syntax, but you want a getter so that orders is not it's not called by orders, but is instead just called by the word orders. So stock object order. Yeah, that was right. Is that going to do it? No, because that's not exactly what we want. We want the stock's position. Okay, we'll do it like this. So that'll return either the bear position or the bull position, whichever one is greater than 0, and we can't have both, so it'll just return our biggest position. And then the second parameter we're sending in is price. So we need 90% of the current buy price. That's easy enough. stock object.price.bool. These were all created back in our, what feels like ages ago, in our base stock, or our 4S stock. The third thing we're sending in is a type and a position. And I believe type is stop, either stop buy or stop sell. So I think it's always stop sell. And then position's either going to be long or short. Actually, maybe L or S. I think it's L or S. But we don't know it's going to be L because we don't know if we're doing bear or bull. So I'm actually going to do this kind of syntax here. If we have bull stocks, it's going to be a stop sell long, and if we don't have any bull stocks, then we assume we had bear stocks. We're shorting, and we'll send in the short. And that is a stop sell order. Perfect. But it's not quite there yet, because the same thing has to apply here. If we're long, we want it to be stock object.price.bull. And if we're short, we want it to be stock object.price.bear. And since this is a stop order, we want it to not just be the price, but be 90% of the price times 0.9. But on the bear side, it's going to be times 1.1. Because we lose money, we want to stop our loss of money when the price rises on a bear, but when it falls on a bull. So we use that simple syntax of wrap it in. Actually, I'm going to break this out so it's easier to see. Wrap your if conditional in the parentheses. Throw in a question mark. The first value is the true value. Throw in a colon. That's your false value. So if this is true, that happens, else that happens. This only works. This is not just a general one-line if-elser. Can't use it like that. It really only works when you are sending in like basically raw values, simple variables. You can't be like stock position bull ns.do stuff. All right. I think we can limit exit the same thing. Let's copy and paste this. And this will be a limit cell. Prices are reversed. Yeah, I'm good with that. Gonna have to probably come back and debug this later once I have access, which in probably tomorrow I will have access to shorts and limits. But for now, I'm just kind of hacking everything together. Okay, next up. We've gotten to all right, just thinking about all the permissions that we could possibly have in money markets. We've handled this by just returning out. If we don't have any stock market access, we don't want to do anything but bail. Actually, that's not entirely true. I'm just going to add just a tiny bit of functionality if we don't even have WC. That's going to be we'll keep this in, but before that, I want to update the cache one time, just so that maybe we could call the script before we have any permissions for anything, and at least get inside the database the stock names. It's a, neighbor's dogs are going crazy. It's a minor, it's of minor value to do this, but it might make the database slightly more reliable. So I'm trying to head, this is handling edge cases. And we've actually already built everything we need to do this, because we've got stock list, it's a constant. We have base stock here. So go through the list of constants and push a new base stock. And then if we don't have ACL and WC, return. Okay, now on to the next permission, ticks. If we have ticks, we're going to want to create objects of type tick stock. And I'm just going to go in and clear out that array. It doesn't... Oh, I forgot to actually do the thing I wanted to do. False. Update the cache. Write it to the database. All we're writing is literally the ticker name at this point. Okay, and then stocks, if we have ticks, then we're actually going to update this to have tick stocks. So we'll be able to access this with all the ticks functionality. Except you actually have to have a loop in there as well. Okay, and then if permissions and ACL ticks 4S, do the same thing. I'm just doing it the long way to show you that how we do it before we make this quite a bit less repetitive, where we're just copying and pasting. And then what other permissions do we have? WC4S. We don't actually have anything set up for this. That's okay, we'll just leave that blank for now. And then we have if permissions equals ACL.short, we will extend the stock, and if we have limit, we'll extend the stock with limit. So if you have both of them, it'll run through that, and then it'll run through that. And basically the maximum functionality would be if you had ticks 4S, short, and limit. And then you would get all the bells and whistles from Sigma, all the bells and whistles from short, and all the bells and whistles from extender limit. And there are literally no additional modifications to be made to like the functionality of a stock with WSE4S. That's so hard to say. This doesn't give you any actual functionality. All it does is let you see with your eyeballs what the forecast is. But that gives you functionality. It may not give your stock object functionality, but in the future, when we get into the while loop, we will use permissions WSE4S. And you'll see how. That probably won't be this video. Okay, jumping back into the logic. The only thing left to change here is this guy right here. So I'm going to comment this out and just kind of rewrite that from the idea of, well, we might have 4S with shorts and we might have 4S without shorts. Well, yeah, let's start with if permissions and ACL ticks 4S. And this will be the block of code that automatically buys and sells stocks based on forecast data. Then we need a if permissions and ACL dot short. So if we've got short permissions, then we're going to do absolute value calculations. And we're also going to do, I don't know what else we're going to do. We're going to start there. And how are we going to get that absolute value calculation? Actually, there's probably one more thing we should add to stock short. We've got go short, max short, short cost, and unshort. Let's add a fifth function, that absolute forecast. And for this, we're going to try. The reason why we're wrapping this in a try block is because we don't know if we're going to have access to stock object.forecast, like the get forecast. We're not 100% sure that at this point, when we send it through this function, we have ticks 4S. So we wrap it in a try block and it solves that problem. What we're going to try to do is get the absolute value of forecast. We want to get its distance from 0.5. Let's see if that works. So if forecast is 0.7, then this will return 0.2. If forecast is 0.1, this will return minus 0.4, and it'll absolute value that. Okay, so now we see that if we sort by absolute forecast, this will be the first sort, which is good because this is more profitable to short than this is to long. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So we're going to sort stocks here, just like we did up in the previous function. But instead of sorting by forecast, we'll sort by absolute forecast. And then if we don't have ACL short, we'll sort by forecast. After that, all of our functionality will proceed as normal, whether we have shorting or not. We're going to buy the most profitable stock. So basically, whatever is first in that list is our most profitable stock to buy. So previously we had this. That's not going to be accurate anymore because we may not want to unbuy it. Actually, this is going to be fine because if the forecast is less than 5, we can unbuy it. And if ST forecast is greater than 0.5, we can ST unsell. As long as we wrap this in a try block, we're good to go. Even if we don't have access to those functions. And since unbuy only ever tries to sell longs and unsell only ever tries to sell shorts, these will not cross over each other and, you know, sell our shorts because they're doing really well. Okay, next function is to either max long or max short. So for let stock of stocks, forecast greater than 535. We'll max long it. It's less than 465. We'll max short it. We'll do the same thing as we did before. Wrap this in a try block. Now the problem we're going to face here is just a slight logic error that I made. Because when you hit a try, when you fail to try, it breaks out of loops. It basically jumps straight to the catch. So you actually have to do it like this, where you put the try block inside of the loop. And that way, if it fails on a stock to unsell it or whatever, it will go to the next stock in the list, rather than not doing anything else with any other stock. I think we're good to go here. I think that's basically adding shorts to our stock options. Let me just walk through the top again and make sure we got everything done that we wanted to do. How do we define if a player has limit or short ability? Good question. I'm going to leave that to you to figure out, because I'm not in the business of spoiling game stuff. There's a function you can use. Yeah, I can't go any further without spoilers. We can go in and do this. Print that stuff out. Okay, stocks. Pushing a base stock, that's fine. Then we're updating the cache. And if we don't have WC, we're just going to do that in return. Now if we have ticks, we're going to push a tick stock. If we have ticks 4S, we'll push a 4 sigma tick stock. And then whatever we have pushed into stocks, we will extend with short and extend with limit. Then at the top of the loop, we're going to start the update cache. No, that's wrong. That goes outside the loop. We're going to update the cache, start that on its own loop, own independent loop, and catch console errors. Then, during the loop, if we have ticks 4S, we're going to automatically buy and sell stocks. We're going to do that by sorting the stocks by absolute forecast if we have shorts. If we don't have shorts, we're going to sort by regular forecast. Once they're sorted, we're going to iterate through the list, starting with what we've already defined as the most profitable stock. And if the most profitable stock, well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we're going to iterate through the list and sell anything that's unprofitable, unbuy and unsell. Then we're going to iterate through the list. The most profitable stock is the first one to be considered. If that is considered the most profitable because it has a forecast over 535, we're going to max long it, which will spend all of our money on it unless we're capped out due to max shares, in which case this will do nothing and it'll go to the next stock in the list. And if that stock was determined to be the most profitable stock to consider because it had a negative forecast, then we're going to max short it. Simple, simple. All that complicated logic from other scripts condensed into literally like 4 lines. See, the key to programming that I've found, the key for me at least, is to keep your logic simple. Make it so you know exactly what's happening all the time. I know exactly what this does. It's one block of code and it gives us the most profitable stocks in order. And so on. I know exactly what that does, I don't have to write this long function For what does it mean to max long? Well, it means we want to get our current money and then divide it by the share price and then subtract the commission and so on and so forth. I don't need to write that here. I wrote that in the stock because we know an action we want to take on a stock is to stick all of our money in it at a long position. It's just a thing we're going to want to do to stocks. Stick it in the stock class. And here, when you get to the logic, it gets much simpler to understand what you were doing. We're just doing a max long and a max short. Okay, so that is the block for if we have ticks 4s. We're going to get clear log, we're going to pretty table, and print out exactly the same thing and then sleep. Perfect. That's where we're going to stop this one for today because we've successfully added shorts to our ticks 4s class. We're going to do another video where we talk about what do we do if we don't have ticks 4s, because that's a completely different problem to solve, and I think we've gotten far enough here. Also going to separate a video out for what to do about limit orders, because limits and shorts are slightly different. And actually that'll be like a really short video. So we'll call it here. Thanks for watching. Stick around for the next one.